anything like a judicious and impartial weighing of the news will escape Al Jazeera channel. Their object in conveying the news is very far seeking the truth. I don't know whether the readers of the news have noticed or not, two different versions of the same story carried by the two channels affiliated with Al Jazeera. According to Al Jazeera English, as reported on Sunday, November 21, 2021, occupied East Jerusalem, Israeli occupation forces shot dead a Palestinian man after he carried out a shooting and stabbing attack that killed an Israeli settler and wounded 3 others, including 2 police officers. The armed confrontation began at 9 a.m. local time on Sunday morning in the Old City at the Bab al-Silsila to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in occupied East Jerusalem. Al Jazeera Mubashir described the attack as an operation labeled Al-Silsila Operation. It also described the attack as an act of martyrdom. This how the story was printed in Al Jazeera Mubashir. A Palestinian was martyred today after he executed an operation where fire was exchanged in the old town in the occupied city of Jerusalem. It resulted in the killing of an Israeli. Other Israeli soldiers received wounds in varying degrees. According to the radio of the occupation, a Palestinian who was disguised in the costume of a religious Jewish man was able to shoot in the direction of a force made up of Borders Patrol troops walking in the old town in Jerusalem. A number of Hebrew sources reported that an Israeli was killed in addition to 3 who were injured in that operation. What is wrong with Al Jazeera reporting? Does this have to do with the scenes of the events they describe? Or does it relate to the way they collect the information? Do they interview different people for the very same incident to bestow a totally slanted exposition of how events transpire? The story in Arabic published a picture of the attacker. The story in English did not publish a picture of the assassin. The Arabic story gave more details about the personal life of the attacker. This was not found in the English language story about him. Al Jazeera Mubashir said the plan was done well and that his family left before he launched his attack. This was not written in Al Jazeera English. Attacks against Israelis in general and settlers in particular will be the perennial weapons employed by the Palestinians, whether in the West Bank or in Jerusalem, against the Israelis as a form of resistance to the existence of the State of Israel. The question is, if these attacks are repeated, and most likely they will be occurring often at present and in the future, will Al Jazeera still give 2 different interpretations of what happened in terms of the acts of violence committed involving Palestinians versus Israelis? The moral criterion for Al Jazeera is to charm its viewers with the news about violence, to instill in them the dispositions toward outrage, hate, and terrorism. This is a total disrespect to the mind of the Arab viewers because Al Jazeera treats him or her as an individual who is liable to be radicalized by news about the strife involving the Israelis and the Palestinians. Perhaps Al Jazeera wants its viewers in Arabic to be more receptive to news about violence than its English language viewers. This also raises another question, whether Al Jazeera does a sort of reporting drive with hidden news. Al Jazeera also distorts the news by explaining the circumstances of events differently. Another debatable matter will be the stories Al Jazeera transmitted before and were hailed as its epic, like its reports on the American war in Iraq and Afghanistan and the Arab Spring. Can a researcher find out the huge dichotomy between Al Jazeera Mubashir reporting the same story differently to a great extent than how the very same story was presented in Al Jazeera English? Al Jazeera has lost a great deal of credibility. They just do not want to admit it. For sure, the more the news as told by Al Jazeera are examined, the more discrepancy will be found between the English language version and the Arabic language version. There must be a measure somehow by the international institutes monitoring the accuracy of the reports in the media to highlight the deception Al Jazeera employs in giving different meanings to the different events that its correspondents report about. The viewers should be the popular jury to condemn Al Jazeera double standards in promoting the news. The culture in the Arab world motivates people to debate the news. Unfortunately, and for a long time, Al Jazeera was looked upon as a trustful forum of news. This is not true. I am now more convinced than I was before that what Al Jazeera covers in terms of news is questionable. Hey, Maria Malouf here. Please click to like and subscribe to Maria Malouf TV YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.